Welcome to More Than a Few Words, marketing conversation for business owners. This is your host, Lorraine Ball. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, you know what? I am going to start that business, but it feels a little overwhelming. Well, today's conversation is just for you. And to have this conversation about successfully starting that new business, I've invited Jeanne Omlor to join me. She is a business strategist, a multi seven figure online business coach, and a certified servant leadership executive coach. She's a solo parent. Oh, at 54 years old, she was a solo parent in deep debt and got herself online and to $1 million in 17 months without ads and has since scaled to multi-million in 5 years. Jeanne, I want to know how you did it. I want to know how you got started, and I want to know where you are now. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Lovely to be here, Lorraine.
It's so nice to have you. And I want to dive into this because that whole idea of being a single parent at 54, and it's a really hard time to go knocking on doors and trying to get a corporate job.
Mm,
So many people are starting that second career or starting that first career as a business owner. How
mm.
do you get started?
Okay, so this is the thing. You just have to do the first step. You can't do everything all at once. And the problem that most people have is they start writing business plans and doing this, and then there's this long list of a million things to do. A human being can't do a million things at once. So I call it getting the foot in the door. Okay. Other people call this a microburst. I call it mine is get your foot in the door. So rather than go through all the millions of things that you could do or about, it's never going to happen. So you just say, what's the one thing I can do right now and do it? Now your foot is in the door.
Okay, so that sounds simple, but I've got all of these things. I need a website. I need this. I need that. I should join this organization. How do you pick the one thing? How do you decide what goes to the top of the list?
Okay, there's something called highest impact action impulse that I teach my clients. You, with all these things, write them all down and say, okay, of all these things, which is the one that's actually going to get me a client as soon as possible? Because a business, it's a client or selling something, right? Product
Mhm.
or service. What's the one thing? And you just, it's like a roulette wheel. Okay, it's that one. That's the one that's going to push me further. And usually it's not about building a website, by the way.
In a way, it hurts my little heart because I was a digital marketer for 20 years and I built a lot of websites. But I think you're absolutely right that the first thing you have to do is figure out, how do I make that first sale? How
Hmm.
do I get that first client? Because then you have the money, you have proof of concept, you know that somebody wants what you're selling.
Hmm.
Okay, so what kind of things, if we agree it's not a website first, even though again that hurts my little heart, what kind of things are good first sale activities?
Okay, it is simple. You figure out what you're selling. Just what? What's the what? Question mark, a box, the question mark. What's in there? Is it a product? Is it a service? And don't make it perfect. Okay. It's not got to be perfect. There is something you're selling. Be clear. I'm going to go sell this. Let's say, because I help coaches do this. Let's say you want to be a coach. I help them very quickly figure out, what is that? Is it relationship? Is it for women? Great. How much are you going to charge? Great. Now you have an offer. They're like, already? Yes, you have an offer. Oh, but I need a website. No, you don't. You have an offer. Now what do? We sell it one time. How do we do that? We talk to people online and we get them on a sales call and we offer the product or the service and they say yes or no. Eventually somebody will say yes. Now you have a business. It's that simple.
And, it's so funny because until you make that sale, you don't have a business.
Correct.
You have an idea, you have a hobby, but that first sale makes it into a business.
Mm-hmm.
But as you're starting out, and I know this was true for me. My first sales, the things people paid me for originally, were not what I wanted to do long term, but it paid the bills initially.
Mm.
How do you pivot? How do you know when to pivot to that thing that really is going to fire you up or that's ultimately going to make you a sustainable amount of money?
It depends. It depends on the personality. It really does.
Hmm.
Some people want to make sure that there's just full stability before they dip their toe in the ocean. Usually, those people they take longer to be successful because it's very much fear based. Okay, but
Hmm.
people have families to feed, so they can't just say, "Well, it doesn't matter if I don't pay the mortgage." I get it, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's really, however, there has to be some fear involved because if you are not facing a fear, usually there's not enough at stake. Okay. So
Hmm.
if it's just all easy, well, they say that the people that have the most success are the ones that have sustained the most amount of pain. That's what they say. I'm inclined to agree a little bit. I mean, there are exceptions, of course, but I've never seen any hugely successful person that has not really been through a lot. Like even the top people, they've been through stuff. Elon Musk had a lot of failure, right?
Hmm.
So that's the deal. It depends. Like, how quick do you want it? How much do you want it? How much do you want? How big do you want to be? Everybody's different. Some people want to get to 10K months. Some people are like, I want to be a multi-million dollar coach. Well, they're going to have to take more risk. Okay.
Hmm.
So it's the balance. How much do you do to get how much, right?
Hmm.
Do a little bit of action, you get a little bit of action.
Absolutely. I I know that living in a state of perpetual fear is hard, but that little bit of fear, when I go to do a presentation, if I don't have butterflies, that presentation is flat.
Mm,
If I walk into a networking event and I don't have a little bit of that energy underneath, I'm going to be kind of laid back about my interactions, my conversations, and maybe a little too laid back. So
mm,
there is that balance. You don't want to be so frightened that you're in everybody's face just like this, because that's really
mm,
hard to take too.
mm.
Um, so how do you start scaling and doing some of this without ads and without complicated technology? Because these days it feels like everybody's got to have technology. I mean, maybe not to get your first sale, but
Everything is technology. To me, we're on technology right now. Okay.
Mhm.
When I first got online, I did not know how to use Zoom. So we're talking about somebody that was really not techy. And that's heartening for a lot of people because they take it for granted. Everybody knows how to use Zoom. I did not.
Mhm.
And a colleague of mine made me a Loom video to show me how to use Zoom. He said, because you could probably do it was hilarious. So, I mean, your phone is tech, but I mean, like funnels and this. And, we got a lot of AI doing automations now, and it's going to get easier and easier to plug into that. But, that doesn't mean that people are going to want to respond to AI just because it's sending bot messages. I love it,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that human beings are going to like want that or love it or anything. So really, you don't need that much. You just need you need tech. You need a computer. That's tech. You need a phone. That's tech, right? You could do it without a phone actually. I can't even both. And you know, the social media platforms are free, so you can be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all for free. TikTok, they're not charging you yet. They might charge at some point. Um, and you are able to communicate with potentially billions of people. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So go get it. It's free. It's there. I would not be where I am right now if we didn't have the internet because I wouldn't have had. I would have had to go to. It was impossible to go to that many networking events and meet that many people that are of a certain category. So I would say we should take a breath and go, oh, I'm so grateful. Things are not always the best in our era, but you got to look at what is fantastic in the life you're living right now. And the internet is incredible. And we should stop complaining about it and harness it.
I absolutely agree with you. I remember when I started my business and I'd left my corporate job and wanted to go off on my own. And at that time, so 2002,
Mhm.
it was email marketing was the huge liberating factor because suddenly I didn't have to keep sending postcards to new businesses. I could build an email list and be reaching people on a regular basis. And I think embracing that and also recognizing you still have to put quality out there no matter how you're doing it. And if you do that, I think it's a fabulous tool.
Mhm. Right. You're correct. Email did do that. Yes, it's not the spray and pray method. There still has to be intention, and that's why I'm saying that using a little bit of tech and a lot of humanity brings in clients.
I'm going to put that on a bumper sticker. A little bit of tech and a lot of humanity. I love that. Thank you, Jean, so much for being a part of the show. This has been great.
You're so welcome. It's been a pleasure to be here.
And I am going to have links to your website, jeanneomlor.com, and that's JeanneOmlor.com. There'll be links to your social profiles. Thank you again.
So welcome. Have a great day.
You too. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you'd like to find other resources for your business, be sure to check out More Than a Few Words wherever you listen to podcasts. Listen to two, they're short. This has been another episode of More Than a Few Words. Thanks for listening.